Okay, we'll go ahead and get started since we're a few minutes after the hour. It's really nice to see all of you on screen this morning, this afternoon, this evening, wherever you are. I think most of you know me. I'm Hannah Shea, and I'm the manager for communications and network development with World Law Group. Just wanted to cover a couple of technical things before I hand this over to Joe. While it is optional, please consider turning your video on if you haven't already, and if your internet connection will allow, so that we can see you. We will have a designated Q&A at the end where you can use the raise hand feature to ask a question. If you have a question before the Q&A, feel free to drop it in the chat, and we will do our best to get those throughout. To ensure everyone that we can hear everyone clearly, we are muting everyone as they come in, so please remain muted until the Q&A when we'll call on you if you've raised your hand, and then you can unmute yourself to ask your question. You can change the view so that you can see either gallery or speaker view up at the top where you see the little view button in the right-hand corner of your screen. And if you're experiencing any technical difficulties throughout the presentation, go ahead and note that problem in the chat, and we will try to walk you through a solution. At the end of the presentation, there will be an option for a quick survey. So we'll ask that you please take a moment to complete this, and Joe will remind everyone. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Joe Delisle, who is the chair of World Law Group's Business Development Committee.
Thank you very much, Hannah. Greatly appreciate that. And thank you everybody for joining today, whatever time it may be for you. Again, my name is Joe Delisle. I'm a corporate partner with Miller & Martin in Atlanta, Georgia. The Business Development Committee is a standing committee of the World Law Group, and the purpose of the World Law Group is to serve our clients and generate business. The BDC operates as a smaller group within the World Law Group to focus on business development efforts and related initiatives. Miller & Martin originally had the honor of hosting the fall conference in Atlanta that was supposed to be last week, but due to COVID, obviously that was canceled. But we look forward to everybody coming back in the fall of 2022. With all the disruption that COVID has caused in our lives, one of them has definitely been our strategies and tactics around business development. As the BDC was conducting its monthly meetings during the pandemic and preparing for the fall conference, a recurring theme continued to be thought leadership and sharing on the topic of business development in the current virtual environment. Back to when we were planning our Atlanta conference, we were also going to include a track for our business development professionals, a group that does not traditionally attend our semi-annual conferences. Obviously, this group of professionals within our respective firms are closely aligned with the mission of the World Law Group and the BDC, and they're really at the tip of the spear on this topic. So with that, we decided to continue to run with the idea of a BD professional panel and put this timely topic on the table for them to discuss. And I hope that you find it helpful and thought-provoking, and that you leave with some ideas to take back to your firms. So with that, I will hand it off to Quentin Poole, who is the head of international projects in London with Gowling WLG, who will be the moderator of this panel. Quentin?
Thank you very much, Joe, and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to everybody. As Joe says, my name is Quentin Poole. I've been very long serving at Gowling WLG. I couldn't bear to remember how many years. But anyway, I was a restructuring partner originally, but after 10 years or so of that, well, I think the firm saw the light and kicked me out into full-time management. And so for the next 20 years, I was either senior partner or managing partner. And now, as Joe says, I'm head of international projects, which essentially means that I spend my time maximizing the potential of our international relationships and developing international business. And as you can imagine, the World Law Group is an absolutely crucial part of that. We have also here, possibly at the top of your screens, a panel of 4 very impressive marketing and business development professionals. And what I'm going to do is ask them to introduce themselves. So Lindsay, could we start with you, please?
Absolutely. Good morning, everybody. Hi, thanks, Quentin. I'm Lindsay Everett, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Client Relations at Goodmans LLP. I have over 15 years of experience leading marketing and BD development programs in Canada, and for the past 13, been responsible for executing these strategies at Goodmans. It's been a World Law Group member firm since 1988. We are located in downtown Toronto, which I miss very much. I'm joining you this morning from one of our 400 or so remote offices, otherwise known as my house. and our firm continues to work remotely during this time. So good morning and thanks for having me.
Right, who'd like to go next? Gabby?
Sure. Thank you, Quentin. Hi, I'm Gabby Finkel. I am the Director of Business Development and Marketing at Santa Marina y Esteta in Mexico City. We are a full service law firm. I've been practicing intellectual property law for many years. I'm not going to say how many years I've been practicing, but for many years. And for the past 2 years, I've actually been involved with business development and marketing, which is a great way to combine my passion for the law with business and being closer to people. So thank you for having me and good morning to everyone.
Thanks. Catherine?
Oh, thanks, Quentin. Hi, I'm Kath Hale. I work for Minter Ellison and I'm based in Sydney. I have over 25 years experience working in professional services, at both executive level in Australia and internationally. I joined Minters about 6 years ago to set up their strategic client program. And I currently lead their industry program. I'm a co-lead of the industry program, looking after the financial services industry, energy and resources, and I'm a working lead on the health industry group. Thanks.
Thanks, Catherine. Shanika?
Hi, everyone. My name is Shanika Gandhi, and I am the Director of Marketing at Greenberg Lusker. We're a full service firm based here in Los Angeles, California. I've been in legal marketing for about 9 years, and prior to that, I graduated law school and maintained my license to practice in California. And at Greenberg Lusker, I lead the firm's marketing and business development, as well as their diversity, inclusion, and corporate social responsibility initiatives. I'm also an active volunteer in the Legal Marketing Association.
Thank you very much, all of you. I think we should get stuck into it straight away now. So this session, of course, is about how to pursue and develop business development opportunities and strategies in the virtual environment. So to open up the discussion, can I ask all of our panelists, actually, to talk about what successful strategies they've used and they've used in their firms to connect with clients in this virtual environment. Gabby, can we start with you, please?
Of course. Well, I think that for all of us, we are treading difficult waters. We didn't know the impact that COVID was going to have in our lives, and let alone the lives of our clients. And what we were going to have to do in terms of being bound by this virtual world. So for us, I think that the thing that we kept to was that we did know that we had to be close to our clients. We had to connect with them. So we made it a priority to reach out to make sure we understood their preferred methods of communication, make sure that they were okay in terms of what was going on with the pandemic, that their family members were okay. So it was more of a human approach to let them know that we were there and we cared. And from there, understanding what their needs were, we definitely sent out a lot of information in regards to COVID, all the legal updates, just important information that we thought was useful for them if they were going to be treading waters within the Mexican territory specifically. And from there, we had like two approaches. One was we hosted many webinars. Either we did that by ourselves or in collaboration with other law firms and associations. And we used those to kind of like showcase what we thought were all the issues that were coming about because of COVID and having the different practice areas to address those. In a certain way, we were kind of like providing strategic solutions or just providing information on what they could be doing with the different practice areas and how that was impacting their own businesses. And for another approach we actually did was with clients where we targeted very specific clients and started doing a lot of the business intelligence, understanding where they were at, what we thought were the issues that were impacting their companies specifically. And we did a lot of internal work to make sure that we understood which practice areas would be of interest to them, and just offered them calls where we had different partners from our firm address issues that we thought were issues that they were having because of the pandemic. And this was obviously free of charge. And it was just like having many attorneys there providing this, and in a certain way getting close to them and letting them know that, well, we were all in the same boat, and we're trying to do this efforts in a kinder way, and know that we were being, having like a Mexican moment solidarity. There was solidarity there. And so it worked. It was a good way of reaching out to the clients and letting them know that we were close to them.
Thanks, Gabby. Kath, anything from you'd like to add?
Yes, thanks, Quentin. Earlier this year, as the pandemic was unfolding,
Kath, I think we might have to, Kath, I think we'll just come back to you in a minute if we may. We've got you frozen there. Do you want to try again? And if not, we'll move on.
Can you hear me?
We can now.
Thank you. Yeah, I will start again. So earlier this year, when the pandemic was unfolding, we formed a COVID-19 response committee. It was made up of 12 partners who were representative across the lines of business in our firm and also industry. They met on a daily basis and actually looked at what was unfolding from a business perspective, what the issues were, what some of the industry changes were happening as a result of COVID, because obviously there was government changes, border closures, workplace changes, and legislation. And they met daily and looked at what some of the alerts were that we needed to put out to keep our clients educated and up to date with business changes for their workplaces and their businesses. You know, things like, in the energy and resources industry, fly in, fly out employees, how you manage that in a COVID environment. All of this was actually stored and published on our website. We had a special place on our website for all our COVID alerts. And we were able to monitor what were the hotspots on those COVID alerts. And then we were also able to run webinars around those so that we were being highly responsive and agile for our clients in terms of what they needed and wanted to learn more about. So, yeah.
Thank you, Kath. And Shanika, we've talked a bit about content so far. Can you say a bit about entertainment? For example, how are you connecting virtually with clients at a social level?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Quentin. Happy to share 2 examples that we've done here at Greenberg Glusker recently. In Los Angeles, we have this renowned playhouse called the Geffen Playhouse. And early on, the Playhouse pivoted to offering Zoom-based performances. And they were the one that they started out with was a magician, and he was a creator of immersive experiences. So we did a buyout of an otherwise sold out event and invited 20 of our top clients in our entertainment litigation practice. And so several clients were just blown away about the experience, and they were extremely thankful for us for hosting an opportunity where they didn't feel like they had to participate in a typical Zoom happy hour or a webinar. So that type of client entertainment experience was really important for us to have, especially when we couldn't do the typical take you out to a sporting event or have our traditional entertainment opportunities. And then even tonight, my second example here is tonight we're hosting our 9th annual Scotch tasting event. It's for our bankruptcy group, and they host their top referral sources. We're doing it in a virtual format. We didn't want to skip a year. We've been doing it for so many years. And so we've found a local spirits provider who helped us source a sampler box. And we had that all sent out to a really small group of people. Typically we have about 100, 150 people attend. We only picked about 45 people to attend this time. And we're, they're filling the bottles. They shipped out the sampler box, and the owner will actually be leading the tastings, and they'll be actually networking in between, so that the networking groups are small and then you have a chance to meet and have conversations. And it's all very structured, so it helps everyone not to feel awkward about being on Zoom. And I think basically when it comes to client entertainment, my suggestion is to keep the groups very small with a preferred niche audience. I think it makes for an exclusive experience, and there's this sort of excitement about it.
Excellent, thanks, Shanika. Another thing which we shouldn't overlook with such an august panel is what's the best use that we can make of our marketing professionals? Lindsay, would you have any observations on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually wish I could get one of those sampler boxes up here, because even in Canada, we're feeling the stress of what you guys are going through down there. So I wish it would cross the border, but nonetheless, it's The example that I'd like to share, though, back to Quentin's question, is to take a deep breath, everybody. But I'd like to pitch that you consider engaging.
Join the meeting.
Oh, welcome. Consider engaging directly with your marketing pros to build relationships directly with your clients. Remember, this is a brave new world of Zoom and Teams, and I'm sure a million other household names by the time we're done with all of this. But this is a world that's new to your clients as well, and ones that don't have the in-house marketing and comms professionals, or haven't until now had to turn their minds to what we do. This is a great opportunity for you to help them. So through intros from my partners, I've been given the runway to jump on calls with clients to help them become more confident with their virtual environments, to give quick tutorials, to help them get comfortable with what a webinar experience might feel like and look like. And my advice is to not be shy. Lean on your marketing pros. This is what they do. We've had to pivot just like you have, deliver our services differently. And what we've learned can and should be a tool to help you utilize with your clients, and to really be a real value add to what you can offer. And I think we've got a few marketing pros on the call. So to them, I would just say one word, which is offer. You got to sell yourself. Sell yourself on how you can help your lawyers, help make their lives easier, help them make them look good, to their clients. I mean, you'd be surprised at something that seems so simple to us now and so usual isn't so much to our internal and external clients. That's my advice.
Thanks, Lindsay. And can we talk a little bit about younger lawyers, how we make use of them? There's a lot of talk in these things about partners, but what about younger lawyers? How can we get them involved in our virtual client meetings and strategies? Shanique, would you like to say something about that?
Yeah, when our firm created our COVID-19 task force, we involved our associates early on as sort of what I term keepers of information. They developed an expertise around certain topics, such as the eviction moratoriums, or here in the US, the PPP loan program, so that our partners would be able to then invite them to client calls and then have them debrief the clients on this very specific topic that they developed an expertise on. And so that really helped, create have the associates create relationships with traditionally where, the client calls are happening between the partners and the client. We found ways to bring the associates in. And then we also created a simple chart that we circulated around every month to all the attorneys, so they knew who the point person was for all these different topics that were coming out due to COVID. And so that really helped everyone to understand who was the go-to person for a certain topic. And so that really helped our associates, I think, develop that expertise. They were writing, they were speaking, really helped to involve them more during a time when they could have been, not included because of our virtual format and not being able to walk down the hall and pull them into a meeting.
Thank you very much. And Kath, you want to chip in on Minter Ellison?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Yes, as part of our industry program, key account planning is a business critical discipline that we have. And young lawyers getting involved on key accounts and working alongside the partners is absolutely a priority for us. It also, when you think about it, there's sort of a cross-generational, we've got 4 generations in the workplace at the moment. And the importance of actually having relationships at at your peer level and letting that talent pipeline move through is really important. So we absolutely encourage our younger lawyers to be involved in the client-facing side of account management and also building their own relationships. Many of the younger lawyers who are on those client teams have already been on secondment to the client. They already know people at the client, and we absolutely encourage those relationships to continue on. And also younger lawyers playing a role on helping us with the opportunity identification, working on doing research, a deep dive around a sector issue, and helping us shape up what does that look like in terms of a client conversation. There are all ways in which we get them involved, and also even co-presenting with the partners at learning education sessions that we run on a regular basis.
Thanks, Kath. Lindsay?
Yeah, Thanks. So I want to actually just pop off of something that Shanika mentioned earlier, the theme of inclusion. And I think it really can just be as simple as being mindful, being intentional about inclusion and thinking about ways to engage these younger lawyers. Video conferences have allowed for much more participation in meetings where younger lawyers might not have had the opportunities to play that role in the past. I mean, practically they're economical, it's more convenient in terms of time, you're not traveling between offices, but it also could be a way to differentiate your firm. So I can give you a good example of that. We recently had one of our senior litigation partners include one of our articling students in a pitch call. They thought it would be a terrific way to get that student involved, and it was a solid learning experience for them. But what was more interesting for us afterwards was hearing from the client, and they raved about how terrific they thought it was that we were including students and these young minds in these meetings, and they were impressed with how that particular student was engaged, looked engaged, took notes, really benefiting from being involved. And they saw that we were going that extra step internally to encourage these types of client interactions. And hopefully they left that pitch call also feeling that we would also go that extra step for them. So I think that's a really important piece. I also think it's really important to recognize that while younger lawyers might not have the same BD acumen just yet, what they do have is the luck of being born when social media is not something they've had to learn, like basically running through their blood. So in that sense, younger lawyers and their technical prowess could be a really big asset, whether it is, helping you with your own social media profiles and, your professional LinkedIn and all of what comes along with that. But it also could be just as simple as running and helping you run your virtual meetings, like monitoring meeting rooms, watching the Q&A, anything that can make your life easier in those meetings too, which is also going to free up your time to spend more time focusing on other aspects of that client meeting.
Okay, thanks, Lindsay. That's very, very helpful. And we're staying very much on the marketing theme and business development, growing our practices. Of course, there's quite a tendency, in my experience, at least amongst lawyers, to look for the shiny new client, the sexy new toy, as it were, rather than concentrate on what actually is probably the low-hanging fruit, which is the firm's existing relationships and leveraging those. So Shanika, can you give us a view on leveraging existing relationships for more business from them and facilitating cross-selling? How's that going in your business?
Yeah, I mean, frankly, cross-selling isn't very easy. And so I think that what's interesting is that the virtual environment has made it a bit easier to include clients as part of client conversations, potential pitch meetings. I think it's easy just to send that Zoom link and say, please come join in. You don't have to, work on like commuting and things like that. So in our firm, to even get to a place where we feel that an attorney can even be invited to help cross-sell or create a relationship with an existing client, we felt that it was important to continue to educate the firm on what our attorneys were doing and what practice groups were, what matters that they were working on. So, and basically what attorneys were doing on a day-to-day basis. So we started in the summer, we did a Tuesdays training, and basically this program allowed every practice group to select an attorney to host a CLE event every Tuesday. And they were tasked with presenting topics about their practice area, critical issues that their clients were facing, especially during COVID. And this really helped our attorneys issue spot much faster during ongoing conversations with our clients, because they would remember, oh, so-and-so talked about that just last week at our Tuesday trainings. And they would say, oh, let me invite them to our call so that they can cover that. And it really just allowed our attorneys to understand what each other does in a place where they didn't have a chance to really talk about what they were doing day to day at the proverbial water cooler or down the hall. And so we really felt that we had to create these educational programs to help them understand what they were working on.
Great, thank you very much, Shanika. And Gabby, I know your firm quite well, and I know that Santa Marina's got some pretty creative ideas in this area. Would you like to talk a bit about those?
Of course. Well, we found, just like everybody else, that it's very difficult to bring in clients, and the more competition there is and the more different multinationals have all these difficulties to having different attorneys for different issues that they have. It has become more difficult to actually get them in. And although our dear attorneys would love for the business marketers to wave their magic wand and have all these clients come in, it takes a lot of effort. So we've been focusing a lot on the client retention more than client acquisition, because we find that as it is, the clients that we have are already a gold mine. And so what we do is that we are focusing a lot on cross-selling. We did this pretty neat exercise where we asked of our partners to provide us with 2 top clients, one that was kind of like missing in action or maybe just inactive during the past years, and then one client from another partner that they would like to interact with. So the results were wonderful, because just in a nutshell, we had like 96 business opportunities that we hadn't seen before. And what we started doing was a list of all these clients that we could target. We did a lot of the business intelligence to actually go into looking what the clients needed, have, I guess, the sensibility of the partner that is the head of that client to know which practice areas would be of their interest. And so we did all this work and started in smaller groups. Just like Shanika was saying, it wasn't more of a only on Tuesdays doing something that was more general, but was very focused for the client. And so we reached out to the client and let them know that we wanted to offer different services that we had, and if they were open and receptive to something of the sort, and if that we had thought, because of all the research that we had done prior, that we had thought maybe 1 or 2 max practice areas that we wanted to showcase, and asked if they were interested in any others. And then we started matching, and we had different approaches for those clients that were a little bit more open and not so afraid of what was going on with COVID. We invited them to breakfast or to lunch in an open space where we could actually do the safe distancing and addressed the issues there. And for those that were a little bit more shy in terms of COVID, we did it virtually. But at the end of the day, what we had was another one-on-one opportunity to showcase what our expertise without having to actually hard sell. It was more of, this is what we do, letting it out there, and having them reach out if they needed our help.
Great, thanks, Gabby. That's very helpful. And that was a bit of focus around existing relationships and developing what you might call the relationships that are already warm. In my firm, we have a concept of a heat map, where we really try to identify which of those clients where we have the warmest relationship, and then concentrate on those and sell those like crazy. Not just, keep developing that relationship through the existing contact, but then spread that across the firm, of course. And that way you kind of really hotten the relationship by creating that bigger spectrum of and breadth and opportunity for developing out an existing and really what might be quite simple relationship. That was all about, as I say, existing relationships, but we do obviously still want to build new relationships. Kath, now that the traditional engagement models have been turned upside down, what can we do to create all new relationships in a virtual world?
Yeah, well, from my point of view, I think it's a little bit back to the future. I'm picking up on Gabby's point about business intelligence, and I think that's come back, up in terms of, if you like, the focus. I mean, we've all got existing clients, and all of us have lists of companies that we would like to be our clients. And it's how do you attract those, and how do you build relationships with companies that you don't have any work with or relationships with. So for me, really important is to fully, I go back to the industry focus that we have, really understanding the industry that the company is in, if it's got subsectors, what are the issues going on in those subsectors, and really getting a clear view on the client's business agenda, their strategy for growth. And, I use LinkedIn quite a lot for research. So as I'm building, having done the sector analysis or the industry analysis and understood what's unfolding and what maybe new reforms are coming in or regimes or business model change that is occurring, I do go to LinkedIn a lot, and I use a tool which is licensed. It's called Sales Navigator. What I like about Sales Navigator is it really helps you to build a better picture of the people in the organization that you would like to build relationships with. So it shows you the sorts of posts they're making, but also as you look at the different people and build that organizational chart, it's more powerful in that it shows you who else has got connections with those people beyond your own network. You know how the normal LinkedIn, you can just see who's connected, but Sales Navigator gives you a much broader connection view. And then I really start looking at that. And then I use, I often leverage our firm's leadership team, executive leadership team, CEO. They've all got really good networks. They've got, they've been in business a long time. They've got strong industry connections. I also look at branded partners in the organization because often the branded partners can open doors. And so it's just a whole range of things that I put together in order to go to market on a brand new company with the right angle, which is going to resonate. And normally I try and look ahead. I'm not looking at business as usual. I'm trying to think about what's coming down the pipeline that's going to be of interest to them, which hasn't already been solved. The problem hasn't already been solved. So it's anticipatory approach as well.
Thanks, Kath. That's extremely helpful. And Gabby, your firm, you and your firm have mentioned a couple of times there. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think it's always important because our business development teams could be great at doing all the research and investigating and just getting all this information together. But I think that one thing that is really crucial is that the moment in which we're going to have an approach to make a pitch or something is going to be very, very targeted, either it's a client or a potential client, it definitely has to come from the expert, the partner, and not from the BD team.
Thanks, Gabby. And if I may, I'll just pick up on that a little. I do think that's a very important point in that clients, they really want to talk to the expert. And the experts, I think, that are most valuable of all are those branded partners, as they're called.
Join the meeting.
Welcome to the meeting. Those branded partners that Kath mentioned, because they're the people who are recognized by the market as like the leaders of their industry groups, the leaders of their sectors that are known in the market. So they can use that recognition to kind of leverage other people actually into the C-suite, into the general counsel's office, and not only sell their own services, but sell those services and broaden that out into other areas. So, again, you're into a sort of cross-selling environment, even though you might be dealing with quite a new client, if you can leverage that branded position that those partners have. Okay, that's let's just shift a little bit onto Zoom particularly. So Shanika, we're living in this Zoom world. So what ideas do you have about how lawyers can leverage their Zoom meetings and their webinars to build new relationships?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like we all could just do a whole nother webinar or meeting just on that topic. But if I may just, give some small tips, I think webinars are great for creating, targeted client and prospective client lists, because when somebody is signing up for a webinar, it's like they're basically like yelling at you that they're interested in this topic or they're thinking about those issues. And it's the perfect way to basically take your world of contacts and really, if you're thinking of a funnel, bringing it down to a handful of, 20, 50, 100 people that you have now a list to follow up with. And so I would really think about webinars as a way to focus on a niche topic and to really get targeted clients and prospects on a list, and then just use that as a way to follow up with them after. Of course, if you're not hosting the webinar and someone has asked you to invited you to speak at a conference, and you can't download the list, I tell our attorneys to screenshot the list and then follow up on LinkedIn. So what Catherine was saying about LinkedIn and using the powerful tools that LinkedIn can provide, I think it's a great opportunity for you to connect on that level. And if you don't know the person, having a message of, hey, saw that you were on this call, thought that our backgrounds could meet, would love to get to know you. And it could just be a very simple message as you're adding them on LinkedIn. You can add a note. I also really like to private message people on Zoom meetings. You can do that in a meeting format, not in a webinar format. And of course, if the host allows you to. So this meeting is actually a prime example. I just checked the chat and you can see everybody who's on this call. And if you know somebody, or maybe you don't know somebody, but have wanted to know them, you can private message them. And so I like to use that as an opportunity just to say, hi, would love to catch up with you after this call, or, even talk about some of the tips that you're learning on this call. So I find that really helpful to just have that like another touch, another engagement point. And then if you are planning on attending a conference and it was canceled, I try to encourage our attorneys to have a Zoom call to connect with those folks. People that you may you're planning on running into at an exhibit hall, or you were going to call them to a happy hour at the conference. Try to emulate that in a virtual format so that you have the conferences on your mind. You can talk about the conference topics. You only need 5 to 8 people to really, and I suggest keeping it really small, because when you're in a Zoom conference or a Zoom meeting like this, it's much easier to connect with when you have a small group of people. And I love the idea of doing it around something that's existing. I think that makes it a little bit easier.
Excellent, thanks, Shanika. But just keep moving on the topics again a bit. Of course, we're living in this crazy, insane world of COVID and all the restrictions that's placing on us all. And if you live in a crazy world, you have to start thinking outside the box. So what I'd be interested in the marketing professionals, the panelists, saying a few words about would be, can you give us some examples of where you've taken a chance, taken a risk, thought right outside the box over the last few months, and what's happened? Maybe Lindsay, you'd like to start us off on that.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I kind of coined this chapter in the last few years, strikes and gutter balls, because we've certainly had some wins, but there have been a lot of things that haven't gone exactly how we thought they might. But I will share a positive example right now with you guys. So in my capacity at Goodman's, I also oversee our alumni program. And our alumni are a huge focus for us. They are so much of why we are who we are today. And we're really fortunate to have so many of them really engaged with the firm and our programs, whether it's from a CPD perspective, our continuing professional development, or from the social events. And our in-person events have historically been a real pillar of our program. And as we all know, they're all about connection. They're about staying connected, feeling connected, being together. And obviously it became pretty clear to us pretty early on that our alumni homecoming was not going to be an option for us in 2020. But we didn't like the idea of not still trying to find a way to be together. So even though it was uncharted waters for us and more than a little ambitious, trying to host a large scale event online at the beginning of this pandemic, this was early May-ish, this was under discussion, we ended up transforming our annual alumni homecoming to our first Goodman's alumni home staying. And we asked people to stay home. We asked them to join us virtually with their families, for those in their social bubble. And, it just so happened we gave them a good reason to. We have an exceptional roster of ridiculously talented lawyers and alumni, and we were treated to musical acts and comedy, but most of all, it was 60 minutes of feeling like Goodman's again. And the response we got from that, where so many of our alumni were experiencing the same emotions, the same uncertainty about the world, it was remarkable. We had almost 300 join the call with us that day. And I think the reason why it worked, and the reason why I'm so happy we took that chance, was we bet on ourselves. We bet that our relationships and our connections were important enough to all of us to take that time, to take that hour and log on. And we bet on our bond. We decided that even if it didn't look like an Emmy award-winning broadcast, which, let's be honest, it did not, especially in early May, but it was really important for us to do it, and way better to do it than to not try. So to be clear, I was also obviously really betting on Zoom and technology at that point as well, but it ended up being pretty great for all of us and truly a bright light in this roller coaster of a year.
Thanks, Kath. Thanks, that's very, very helpful, Lindsay. Kath, what about you?
I'm not sure you'd describe it as a BD chance, but I mentioned earlier about the COVID-19 response committee that we set up, and obviously as things were unfolding quite rapidly, and there was a massive thirst for knowledge from not only our clients but also just other businesses. We set up a chat box, which was a 24/7 chat box. It would be like a helpline, and we called it Kurt. And Kurt was obviously advertised on the COVID part of our website, but it was also included in the signatures in our email, so people could see immediately that they could just click on that and go there and basically pose a question. And that was manned up by lawyers from many different disciplines, from workplace, construction industry, real estate, the whole health, government side of things. So, it really was quite an amazing helpline or chat box, because it kind of attracted over 10,000 users in the end. There were a lot of non-clients who were using it. As a result, we started building relationships with them. We've won clients as a result, new clients. And we were actually awarded a marketing recognition award for one of the best COVID content response firms. So it was a great success story for us.
Okay, thank you very much. Gabby, anything from you? I'm keen that we keep moving on. So the abbreviated version, perhaps, of one or two of these questions.
Well, as Lindsay was saying, it's all about hits and misses. And I guess that hard times call for being more disruptive and maybe more bold approaches. We tend to walk around eggshells when we're with our clients. There's this tendency of kind of like not wanting to upset them or do things that might just have them say this is weird, or they're having something that is not usual for attorneys to do. But what we did is that we wanted to get closer to our clients in more of a social environment. And we had several virtual social events where we've been doing one-on-ones again. We actually had a very nice one with another World Law Group member, where we hosted an event with a client. We sent out a personalized package that had 3 bottles of tequila. We had the menu for the pairing, and had a caterer that actually went through the history of tequila and the process to make it, which was really nice. And it was just a very nice environment where we can chat with our client to get them to know them better in a personal way, not only business related. It's actually not a moment
Join the meeting
where you'd like to throw in any of the business matters, but you do have other partners from the firm that might be joining you at that moment. So you're introducing new practice areas by introducing these people, getting to know them in a closer way. And it's that thinking outside the box that actually at the end of the day creates top of mind. So it was, they're really nice events.
Thanks, Gabby. I think I'm going to keep moving us on. So what I'd like to do as a sort of last question to you all would be, we could spend hours talking about all these topics about what we've done differently, how we navigate through these times. But can I just ask each of you to say a few words about what's your single biggest lesson? What is the one thing that you've learned through all of this over the last 6 months? Lindsay. Lindsay, you're on mute.
I know, I knew someone was going to do that today, and I can't believe it was me. I want to echo on a previous theme, actually, Quentin, and it's that I just don't be afraid to take risks and to take those chances. Like many of you joining us today, Goodman's is a one-office firm, and there's a lot of opportunity for firms like ours. We're smaller, we can be more nimble, we can perhaps mobilize a little more quickly, potentially we're more flexible. This is definitely the fabric of the firm at Goodman's, and it's generally easy for us to get to where we need to get to without a lot of extra layers. I think it's an opportunity for one-office firms, leaders in your own markets, to be really smart and creative, to try new things and demonstrate your creative and competitive advantages. You know your markets better than any other law firm in your space, and you should try to play off that. My advice is to not be afraid of getting it wrong, because there really aren't any clear-cut answers right now. And we're all beginning from the same starting line, and there is absolutely no precedent to the scenario that we're all in.
Terrific. Thank you. Shanika.
Yeah, I would suggest just doubling down on existing relationships, but not just clients, but also, different associations or networking groups that you're part of. I think it's really important that to basically dig your heels into something that you've already started. I'll give you an example for World Law Group. You know, last year we weren't doing a lot of publishing with World Law Group or creating relationships, and I feel like this year we just like I had the world of all these different organizations, and it's like, well, let's start sharing our publications, and let's you know, speak and participate in the guides, and you know, just really digging your heels deeper into things that you're already participating in actually really results in several opportunities.
Terrific. Thank you. Gabby.
Well, for me, it's been embracing the vulnerabilities. I think that as attorneys, we have a tendency of wanting everything to be perfect. And well, COVID has just kind of like thrown all these huge issues and challenges, and therefore we have to be more human. And it's a great way of being more empathetic with our clients. And I guess that at the end of the day, what works is letting them know that we're all, we're just as human, you know, it becomes more intimate, you're opening your home, you have a dog barking, a child crying or whatever, and we're human, and it's more relatable, which makes it so much easier for everyone. And you just get closer to the clients, and embracing that makes it so much easier.
Thank you very much. Kath.
Probably similar to Shanika. You know, I think market relevancy is really important at this time. Staying in touch with your clients and keeping those relationships constantly warm. I think a good touch point plan in terms of thinking about how am I going to stay in touch with this client and how's the rest of the team or the firm. So I think, you know, mapping that out and being quite clear about what are the things that you can do over a period of time rather than just one-off transactional touch points is the way to go.
Excellent. Thanks, Kath. We're getting close to the end, so I do want to leave some time for a few questions from the floor. So I don't propose to give you a lengthy summing up. You'll be very relieved to hear. But just for me, the two really key things that I got out of this session anyway, are first that, you know, this is a crazy world. This is a new world, and we all need new strategies and new tactics to cope with the virtual world. And well, we've talked about a number of those. My favorite, of course, is the idea about sharing the tequila box. But frankly, you know, whatever you do, we are breaking new grounds. We need to take risks. And so I do think it's really important that we acknowledge we're taking those risks, try them out, road test them with your firms, and work out what really works for you, and therefore what will work for your clients. The second thing is that, again, in this crazy world, one thing is extraordinary, and that is the fundamentals haven't changed. So above all, relationships are the most important thing. Actually, I think they're more important than ever. And so is empathy, that empathy Gabby is talking about with clients, you know, recognizing and sort of sharing with clients that we're all in this together. We're all facing this common problem, and engage with them about, well, how we can share ideas, how we can help each other, how we can help each other through these difficult times, what lessons we've learned from other clients in their industry or their sector, and kind of how we can make that work. I think we've got a little time for Q&A. Joe, I think you're going to pick up here.
I guess, yeah, if you have questions, raise your hand, or as Hannah said before, you can, you know, chat them to her, and, you know, she will manage sort of getting those in front of the panel. I guess, Hannah, do you have any questions that anybody's put forth so far?
I do, and I did want to touch on this anyway, and Shanika sort of hit on it, and Lindsay and Kath also hit on it, in terms of leveraging World Law Group and how you can leverage World Law Group to build these relationships, to continue building relationships. You know, we talked about the young lawyers and what they can do, what firms are doing, you know, within their firms to get the younger lawyers involved. I did want to comment on the programs that we have with World Law Group. So one, the Young Lawyers Program. I know quite a few of you have lawyers from your firms that have participated in those, and I strongly encourage it. The second is the practice and industry groups. So I get a lot of emails from people, what's the experience that you need to join a practice and industry group as a lawyer? Brand new lawyers, seasoned lawyers can join those groups. I think we have them structured so that they can benefit anyone. You know, Shanika mentioned the guides and the publications. That is a really great way to get the younger lawyers involved in participating. a lot of our, our lawyers will author something and then have the new associate review it, right? And then they get authorship on that. Or they'll have the associate write it and then they review it. So they're sharing authorship of those things. And I really encourage you to get your younger lawyers involved in both the Young Lawyers Program and the Practice and Industry Groups. That being said, I did want to sort of put it out to the floor, and Lindsay, maybe I'll start with you. How else can you leverage World Law Group and any association really, Shanika touched on really digging your heels in, but how can specifically we leverage World Law Group to build relationships?
Yeah, so, and I think, World Law Group does a really great job with our marketing and BD professionals forum and our BD committee. I think another really smart thing to leverage are your amazing PD professional development type folks and leaders in your firms, because we have shared interests. And, I can say from our experience at Goodman's, while, we all get the great World Law Group emails, and if you're signed up already, that's even better, but to have that extra layer of sharing, and, our PD director sends out these amazing emails every month of all the great learning opportunities there are. And now we make sure it's included, and whether we break it down by, topic or, or event like this e-conference, we send it out, and it's just another way to just ensure that people are really seeing the benefits of what World Law Group can do.
Great. Did anyone else from the panel want to jump in there? Shanika, I see you nodding.
Yeah, no, I think I'll just reiterate what I said before. Like, we have several attorneys who are on those practice group calls, and then also, participate in the cannabis guide, for example. We've done, I think the one thing that I really dug my heels into this year was making sure to share all of our legal alerts and member news, press releases, all of that to World Law Group. So it's like a really easy upload. And I'm sure if you're an attorney, you can really hopefully rely on your marketing professionals to do that. But I just made it a point, anytime that we're publishing something, I go directly to World Law Group and just upload it there. And it just creates like a really nice news feed on our profile of what we're up to.
Yeah, and anyone from your firm can create a profile on World Law Group and upload that content. And I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I know Tori put them together for the opening plenary last week. And the uploads that we've had this year, because firms are doing that, obviously with the COVID alerts, we had such an increase in those uploads, and we've had a pretty regular e-bulletins that we've sent throughout the year. I did want to move on to another question. So Quentin mentioned a really interesting thing that their firm is doing called heat mapping contacts, sort of from cold to warm contacts or cold to hot contacts. And I know this has come up in a few webinars that I have attended as well, and that's customer relationship management software, which I think a lot or most of our firms are probably using. And Kath, I'm going to throw this one out to you, and definitely others can chime in. Sort of, how can you leverage that that customer relationship management system in building these relationships?
I'm sorry. My whole system just cut out then, so I've had a blank screen. So could you throw to someone else, and then I'll pick up on it in a minute? Sorry.
Sure, Lindsay, I'm going to throw this one over to you.
Yeah, so I mean, what I can say, we have a client tool. We use Interaction at Goodman's. I know that's a familiar product to many of you on the call, or not, because quite frankly, a lot of that goes on behind the scenes, and you might not even know what that tool is. Certainly has a lot of pluses. There's certainly things that we haven't explored yet or rolled out, more broadly to the firm. But to touch back on something Kath mentioned earlier, I think LinkedIn is an awesome way to really start doing a little bit more digging on who your clients are, who your targets are. People are spending a lot more time making sure their profiles are reflective of not only what their website bio might be. I mean, I still remember it wasn't that long ago where we started, holding specific training for our incoming associates on how to build a social profile. And that was, in the past, it was just here's your bio and let's make sure we keep updating this. But now we're being, really smart about, what your profile looks like, what groups you're involved with, how you're engaged. We're posting all of your updates. Are you sharing them? Like, it's just, it's a really easy checklist to go through, but LinkedIn is certainly probably the biggest tool of that nature that we're leveraging at the firm right now across the board.
Anna, if I may jump in. I think
Yeah.
that there's a part where, again, I know that I'm very focused on the personal relationship with the client per se. So it's always important when you're knowing your clients, know like their hobbies, what they like the most. And within your CRM, you always have a possibility of knowing if they like golf, if they like another sport, or if just any other hobby. You have their birthdays, where their families, the names of their family members, where they go to school. So you can have all these alerts where when it's a birthday, you actually reach out to a client. It's a great way of just letting them know that you're close. It's just sending a handwritten note saying happy birthday, or if there's a golf tournament or maybe the tennis open or whatever in a certain place. Not now because COVID does not permit, but when all these events come about, it's always nice to kind of like touch base with those clients that you could very easily spot out just because of your CRM, and let them know that you can invite them to an event or do something and get closer to them in that way. And it creates top of mind, but at the end of the day, the importance is that we're definitely going back to the relationships and building those, as Quentin was saying before as well.
Yeah, and I'll chip in. I've got the context. So I was just really going to mention, it goes back to that about point plan. Everything customized, you're focusing on people within those clients. And really, as I think Lindsay said, the profiling is really important. And Gabby says understanding them on a personal as well as a business level is important. So that touch point plan that I mentioned is really all about how you're interfacing with them on a very relevant and very customized way.
Yes,
Thanks. And I do see one more question in there. Joe, I see you're jumping in.
Yeah, I guess we'll stick on with the questions, but I guess in case people start dropping off, just wanted to hit a couple of administrative things before we start losing people. I guess there will be a recording of this session that will be circulated later, so feel free to share this to your other folks in your firm and your BD department as well. Also, Tori's going to send out a survey about this session specifically in just a moment, so if you could take a couple minutes to review and respond to that, that would be great. She's doing that instead of the end of the conference survey this time to make it a little bit more tailored. So please take a moment and do that. Also, either in the comment box on the survey or send an email to myself and Hannah about any ideas that you have about upcoming BDC topics that you think we should discuss or pursue as initiatives or so on and so forth. So we'd love to have your ideas on that front. There's been a lot of good thoughts shared today, so hopefully this gets people thinking about a handful of things. Also, there's 1 week left of the conference, so please sign up for any more sessions that seem interesting to you that you haven't done before. A week from today, Bill Antholis will be talking about the U.S. presidency, which is going to be interesting, continue to be interesting, hopefully, for folks, and I guess changes moment by moment and day by day. So I would encourage you to sign up for that. And I think it's also a great extension, really, of this committee's work and an opportunity for us to sort of share about the World Law Group and the resources that we have to folks who know and use our firms, refer clients to our firms, and show sort of what we do and the contact points we have. So I would encourage you to send out the invitation that staff put together to invite your clients to. Also, next month, we'll be doing more of the sip and chats for the KCPs. It's the week of December 7th, and the BD professionals the week of the 14th. So that's been a nice new initiative and a way for us to get together as well as we can and share a little bit of social time and also some continued business contacts as well. And the speed networking is also going to continue. So, a handful of those administrative things, we will stay open for a while to answer some more questions and answers, to cover those before people started dropping off. So, Hannah, I guess you said you had another question from the floor.
I do, and this was directed toward the panelists, but I think it really could be any of you on the call, and you could just use the raise hand feature to respond to this. And this will, of course, be helpful for me, for the staff, my staff team, colleagues, and the other leaders within WLG. And what is that? The question is, what can World Law Group do for you all to make your participation with the network easier and part of your sort of day-to-day mandate in business development? Does anyone want to jump in here? Gabby?
Oy, I wouldn't know what to say at that moment. I think that, well, to begin with, I'm fairly new and I've been very grateful. I feel that being a part of this has been great because it has opened a complete new environment for me, even jumping out at opportunities. Just yesterday when I saw the cannabis guide, I jumped out and I said, I really need to be a part of this. So for me, it has definitely opened a huge environment of possibilities, of great colleagues with whom you could just share ideas and have the opportunity of sharing content through the website, which is something that we started doing as well. So I don't know, to me, it has been a great experience and I hope I can use it even more than what I have been. I know that my colleagues at Santa Marina have been doing it before, but for me, it's a new thing and it's wonderful.
Well, and I can jump in here too. I think from a participation perspective, the fact that, you know, we haven't been able to get on planes and there haven't been the big conferences where historically, and I mean, I can only speak for our firm, but it's not like we're sending, you know, dozens of Goodman's lawyers to, you know, attend the events. We'd love to, it's just not what we're able to do. But the fact that we've now got these, you know, with Zoom and with the ability to have sessions like this and to, you know, pump them out pretty quickly. Like it took a bit for us all to get rolling on it, but now this is kind of becoming old hat and people are used to it. People are okay with the hiccups. People are okay when we're welcoming people throughout throughout the meeting and a microphone might be muted. There's that level of sort of understanding. And I think in light of that, it really gives so many, and again, we'll go back to the younger lawyers, that opportunity to be able to be involved. It's, you know, it's a lot of times it's tough, whether it's, you know, finding budget, finding the time, finding sponsorship within the firm to be able to attend these types of things. And when this is already a membership, to Shanika's point, that your firm is already involved with and is hopefully, you know, utilizing the best you can, like this is, I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's right here for everybody.
Yeah, and you know, Gabby mentioned the cannabis guide. So that's one example that we are trying to make it easier. You know, the email I sent out yesterday was, we've added 2 countries. If you want to update your chapter or you didn't participate in the first 2 rounds, let us know. As instead of having these sort of strict deadlines with things like that, okay, we'll update the guide as they come in. So we are trying to do things like that, individual outreach. We of course have to send our mass emails, you know, and I encourage you, if there's one email you read, the Fortnight Focus, which has everything in sort of a condensed version that we've sent out, that's every other Thursday, and it goes to probably everyone on this call. I encourage you to read that, but we are trying to send more personal emails when we're looking for information or we're looking for somebody to get involved. You know, I try to be very strategic with the practice and industry groups, with this panel, with other things that I do to reach out to firms that I know have expertise in something, or that I know they haven't participated in something in a panel, they haven't had an opportunity. We are trying to be more thoughtful and targeted with our approach to those things. But any other suggestions you have, we're always open to hearing feedback or suggestions for how we can make it easier for you to participate in World Law Group.
Do we have any more questions?
And I don't see any more questions. I don't see anyone that's raised their hand. So I think you know, that wraps up our Q&A. But of course, if there's something that you want to ask us, feel free to reach out to Joe or me or anyone on the staff team at World Law Group. We're happy to help you.
Yeah, especially any ideas. We really would love to have them about initiatives for us to pursue, because just the way the BDC does its work, this is all sort of thrown that committee in a little bit in a loop as well. So just how we move things forward. But well, thanks everybody again for coming. Great to see faces. Also really want to thank our moderator, Quentin Poole, for all his great work in keeping us on track and getting us organized today. And our panelists, Lindsay, Gabby, Shanika, and Kath, especially Kath, because it's what about 1 a.m., 2 a.m. for you right now? So it's the middle of the night.
2 a.m.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Kath. And also special thanks to Hannah for all of her work and the staff's work really at pulling together the e-conference. I mean, this is challenging for everybody, but especially challenging for them. And so thank you, Hannah, for everything you did to pull this together today and getting us all organized and working on with the BDC as well. So with that, we'll look forward to seeing people at the next session or at a future Sip and Chat or networking event. And I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you very much.